Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for spending the afternoon with us. And it is my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Chen Zhouhan to you. Dr. Chen is the founder of SafeLink Network, a corporation working on cybersecurity. He received his PhD in data science from New York University and Master of Science in Computer Science from Rice University. And he served as a graduate research associate of NYU Center of Social Media and Politics. His work provides consultant service to help companies extract insights from complex data sets. Dr. Chen's research lays at the intersection of social network analysis, cybersecurity, and machine learning with a focus on discovering and understanding the spread of misinformation across multiple platforms. And today, Dr. Chen is going to share with us on his work on detecting coordinated campaign across social media. So without further ado, let's welcome Dr. Chen.
Thank you, Zhouhan. Good afternoon, everyone. I will get started. A little bit about myself. I'm currently the founder of SafeLink Network, where we are building technologies to detect online harm. And the main product we're building is called Information Tracer. Actually, the story behind it is I started to build it myself during my PhD to facilitate my own research. And for my PhD, I did at New York University. That's actually where I met Zhouhan, and we started some collaboration there years ago. So during my PhD, I studied basically at the intersection of cyber security and social media analysis. And also, I was fortunate during the past several years to be able to work and intern at some big social media companies like Twitter, Google, and Amazon Web Services. So I worked mainly at the security, anti-abuse, and trust and safety team. So building products to detect different bad actors. So all those experiences together motivated me to do what I'm doing right now. So today, I want to share you actually some real world examples of the campaigns we have been tracking and the lessons we learned. And before that, I just want to give an overview of Information Tracer, which is a tool we built. And just this morning, I gave a workshop to some students, and they actually use the tool to do live search and investigation. And that one is also super interesting. So here I will just show you on a high level how someone will use Information Tracer. So basically, you can think of this as like a multi-step, social media intelligence platform. So it starts with a search. If you want to kind of understand any spread of a hashtag or narrative, you can give a keyword, and then it will collect posts that match those keywords from different social media platforms. And currently we focus on 5 platforms: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, and YouTube. And then it will collect data and generate different intelligence or sentiment analysis and indicator of coordinated behavior. And at the very end, it will show users the results and visualization. So this is not a verification tool, so it doesn't do the fact check for the user. It doesn't tell you, if this is true or not, but it provides you hopefully with enough context that you can make a decision. And as Zhouhan mentioned, we have been working and actually collaborating with many organizations, and I have some example of how those cross-functional collaboration works. So on one hand, we work with journalists, fact checkers, humanitarian agencies. So they do research on breaking events during the like armed conflict crisis, and we also work with universities to facilitate different students' research. And before I show examples, just want to comment on today's topic, which is coordinated campaigns. So this is a term is actually very diverse. So when we mention those campaigns, it can cover many topics. So it can be misinformation or disinformation, as in the case of Russia, Ukraine. It can also be about hate speech. I have some example about hate speech toward celebrities like Amber Heard and public figure like Meghan Markle. It can be about political propaganda and also about cultural issues. And another feature of coordinated campaign is it's very global. So here is just a map of some of the countries we have been tracking that have some campaigns, and many of those countries are actually in the global south, like Mexico, Brazil, and Africa, like Ethiopia here, and also in Europe and many other countries. So it's really a global problem. So next I will walk you through some of the case. So those are all real world events that we discovered in actually recent months. So many of those are just brand new. I have never shared it before because they just happened. So the first one is about a anti-Ukraine campaign we identified on Twitter. And this campaign is interesting because it targets people who are in Germany. So it was posting in German language, and those accounts were impersonating people from Germany. And so I want to show how this journey starts. Like how do we actually start this investigation? So it actually started with an email from a journalist called Max. So he's a fact checker from German, and he emailed us and he said he shared some accounts. He identified that's suspicious, and he said, yeah, there seems to be a network of fake accounts spreading Russian content in German. And he also mentioned they seem to use whatever the trending hashtags in Germany are at the moment. And this is an example. So yeah, so they will share some news, right? That's negative about the Linsky. They are writing in German, but they will also use many hashtags that's trending. And some of those hashtags are not relevant to the political content, but they are just doing this hashtag hijacking. So like whatever people are searching, they will find their posts. So how do we basically collect data from this narrative? We leverage this technique called advanced search, and some of you might know. So basically, from our platform and also on Twitter search, you can use those queries. So basically here we're searching hashtag and a keyword that's specific to politics like Russia, German, Ukraine, and we can use all to tell the API we want all those different narratives. So essentially we're capturing this whole group of narratives. And okay, so when we get the data, how do we know there is something suspicious? So one way is to look at the graph of how fast it spreads. So in this graph, the x-axis is the timeline, and the y-axis is the cumulative interaction on different platforms. And here, what you are seeing is, so each circle is a Twitter post. So we're seeing this very kind of erratic behavior of like a sudden, like rapid number of tweets. So it's not like a gradual increase. So that's an indication that people are coordinating and tweeting in a short amount of time. And we also identified other hashtags that's basically very specific to this campaign. So one use is called Shodan DE. Shodan means that. So if you search this campaign, what we found is also a group of accounts that tweet basically almost all at the same time. And also we can identify who are the top spreaders, their username, profile, and also get the screenshot of the tweets they tweet. So here visually you can see basically they are all sharing the same type of content. So what's also interesting is those bots. They are using German profiles and locations. And we have identified some location that's basically a misspelled name. So one specific one is this one called the VFYU. So it's not like a real word, but we identified on a Russian website. Basically, this website was listing different German names and the English spelling, but I think they misspelled. So sorry, the Russian names of the German cities and their English spelling, but they misspelled. And yeah, actually later on when we shared the research, someone, this researcher from CESCA, she's from Institute of Strategic Dialogue from London. So she saw our research and she reached out to us, and she can help to solve this mystery of why there is this weird misspelling. It's probably because whoever was typing, they used a Russian keyboard, and that's the misspell you will get when you was typing that German city name. Yeah, so basically, like we wouldn't know this intelligence, yeah, if we didn't, share our research. And just to close this loop, how to do it like end to end. So from fact checker to us, we identify those campaigns. We eventually collected about 1,300 accounts, and we shared to our contact at Twitter, now called X, and they were kind enough to take the data, and they also replied, and they said they identify other language networks and clean those up to much appreciated. So basically those accounts have been taken down already. And on the misinformation side, the German media, they also wrote stories to debunk the Linsky fake news basically. So yeah, so people wouldn't be manipulated. So yeah, so basically that's kind of the whole journey. And the next use case, I mean, this is still ongoing investigation, because sometimes those campaigns is not that clear cut, like not every campaign we can identify and the platform can take actions. Sometimes they cannot take actions, or they hesitant because of policy restrictions. So in this case, what we are looking at is a campaign about hate speech. And do any of you know those two people? Or some of the news? Yeah, so Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, they are both celebrities in Hollywood, and long story short, they have been involved in very complex legal battle. So Johnny Depp sued Amber Heard for defamation, and in the very end, the court actually ruled that Amber Heard won the case. So Johnny Depp had to basically compensate to Amber Heard had to compensate for Johnny Depp. And while this was all going on, in the court, in the physical world, on the internet, we have been observing and actually collecting data about coordinated hate speech campaign against Amber Heard. And this is code from her own word. The vilification I have faced on social media is an amplified version of the ways in which women are re-victimized when they come forward. So this campaign, actually even today, is still ongoing. It's very persistent, and we're investigating who is behind. But just to show you, how we know there's some coordination about our Johnny Depp campaign, we did some research and analysis where so actually there are people that support Johnny Depp and people that support Amber Heard, and each group will share specific hashtag, like the pro Johnny Depp will use justice for Johnny Depp, Amber Heard is a liar, and the pro Amber Heard will use the counterpart hashtags like justice for Amber Heard, Johnny Depp is a liar. So that's how we collect the keyword. And then similarly, we search social media posts that contain those keywords. So we did this analysis earlier this year during a 10-day period. And what we found is first, the Johnny Depp group, there's just so much volume and also coordinated network behavior that I will show. The Amber Heard group, we don't find too many data points and also not really coordination. So this is an example for just cumulative interaction. So Johnny Depp campaign, it's active on many platforms, Instagram, Facebook, and so on. And on average, about 20 times more interaction. And what's more suspicious is if you visualize the network. So the way you read it is some accounts are users from Instagram, and other nodes are hashtags that they share. So if this user share this hashtag, we will connect them. So basically, we found this dense clusters of accounts sharing lots of hashtag. And those accounts, they all look similar, like at least they claim to be fans of Johnny Depp. I mean, I've talked to people actually at Facebook, and it's very hard to verify if they're actually fan page or whoever is behind it. But on the front, those are all fan page. And if you look at the hashtag they share, they share a huge volume of hashtag, and some are, I would say, at least borderline, hate speech or violent content, like Amber Heard is finished, and so on. So actually, this is not just one incident. We have also identified similar campaigns targeting other high-profile individuals. So this is Meghan Markle and Harry, and the hashtag has similar structure. Meghan Markle is a liar, and so on. And when we trace those hashtags, we find that YouTube, this time YouTube is a major spreader of those hate speech hashtag. So there are many YouTube channels that make videos out of those celebrities. So many of them, and we believe what happened, and this has been discussed in the UK Member of Parliament. So this is from Chris Brand at UK. So he mentioned it is becoming their richest clickbait thing. It drives viewing and earns advertising income. So basically, the hate speech is just being monetized here because people, want to hear about those stories of celebrities. So if you make videos of those, people will watch, and based on estimates, you can get quite decent income by making those videos and getting subscribers. So what we have been doing is we are documenting those evidence, right? This like coordinated behavior campaign, and we have a GitHub page that basically document all those, and people can download the data for further analysis. Are there any questions so far? Oh, yeah.
Quick question about how you differentiate bot accounts and regular accounts, because coordinated behaviors can be organically done if you're talking about celebrities with big fan base, for example. So how do you then decide which one is bots and which one's actually human?
Yeah, that's a very good question and very difficult. So we're currently doing some investigation, and I didn't post here, but it can be very data intensive. So one way to know it is you have to like for each account you kind of get all their historical data, right? All the posts they have shared, and so yeah, as you mentioned, like are there actually some fans who are supporting, or are they some bots that's being used for different campaigns? Yeah, so we have some evidence that some Twitter accounts, actually it's very interesting. Like many years ago, some even goes to like 8-9 years ago, they were tweeting like Arabic language. Yeah, so they were basically tweeting totally different topic, and then like one day in like 2022, like near the court case of Amber Heard, Johnny Depp, it suddenly started to tweet justice for Johnny Depp. Yeah, so yeah, we have actually quite a few of those examples of sudden shift of narratives or languages of those users. Yeah, so that's one way, but that's like pretty intensive. I have to collect all the data, and sometimes those accounts, I mean, we're still trying to find who is behind it, but sometimes they can purchase, from companies, and those companies, they will try to delete their previous data, right? So we will go to website like Wayback Machine, like Internet Archive to find, if they have deleted something. Yeah, so but we have some evidence that they were using some, like Arabic related accounts, and so on. Any other question? Okay, I will continue. Yeah, and another thing that's difficult is, especially in the United States, like I've talked to people at Google who work on YouTube, integrity, and they said, especially in the US, there's a very high bar of freedom of speech. So they know this is happening, but they really hesitant to block those accounts because they can appeal that, this is against their freedom of speech. Yeah, so that's the tricky part. So there's not a good policy, against hate speech. And another use case is about political propaganda. And actually, this morning in the workshop, I did this with students. And we have some very interesting findings. So the background is, as you probably know, Japan this August, they started to release wastewater from Fukushima. And this has caused controversy on the internet. And this is a map of where the water will flow in many years, and it will touch many countries, both in East Asia and also US, Canada. And this is, so basically we chose this to study. At first we want to study scientific misinformation because there were different narratives about whether water is safe or not. And yeah, actually later we find this event has also become pretty much politicized. So different regions, based on their kind of political stand, they will share if they support or against it. So for data collection, again, after some research, we find those keywords that are used when people talk about Fukushima and the water safety, Fukushima science, Fukushima health. So basically, this query is capturing those narratives. And from the graph, you can see, so this vertical line. So we also did some event detection when this engagement breakout. So this line is basically at the day of the water release, and that's when people really start to talk about it. And then we continue to look at who is sharing different opinions. So who are the key opinion leaders? And we find, just using Twitter as an example, there are clearly two groups of spreaders. So one accounts from Western countries, like Embassy of Italy and Japan, and also from official at International Atomic Energy Agency. And they all support the release, and they have evidence from the IAEA report that this is safe. And on the other hand, there are pro-China accounts. So some are official, like Zhang Heqing is the cultural counselor at the embassy of PRC to Pakistan, and other counselors. So they are against the release. And what's interesting is they use kind of the same narrative, which is if the water is safe, then why don't you put it in Japan? So why you release it? And what we found is they have some same phrasing. Basically, if it's safe, put in Japan. So they all have this in their message. So then we think maybe there's some coordination. So what you can search is you can search this phrase, right? If it's safe, put in Japan. And I mean, we don't know kind of how much coordination there are, but basically from the data, you can say like Zhang Heqing posted something, and then other accounts, or China accounts, start to use the same narrative. And we also leverage ChatGPT. So what you can do is you can get like at least a Twitter description, right? You can send to ChatGPT and tell it to give you some summary or observations. So this from ChatGPT, but basically it can figure out that those users have a strong interest in China. Some are affiliated with Chinese organization. Some are personal, some are professional. So it gives you an overview of who they are.
What's the size of the circle? The size of the circle.
Oh yeah. So the bigger the size, the more engagement that post receives. Okay. So for Twitter would be retweet. So this narrative, basically the first one, Zhang Heqing, like his tweet really spurred this discussion. Or he's the first one that used, if it's safe, put in Japan. And then we find other users who basically use the same quote. Yeah, but we're not exactly sure, if they are, if they receive the same order or they just find this code to be interesting, and then they use it. Yeah, but that's one way we can identify some coordination. Like you can search with something more broad, and then you try to identify those sub narratives, and you search with those more specific narratives to reduce your search. And yeah, so what's interesting is in the morning we had a workshop and we asked students to use information tracer to search the same keywords, but in other languages like Chinese, like simplified traditional Chinese, in Japanese, and Denmark, like any language, and try so you can really say in different regions like what's the people's sentiments. And I think for the feedback we get is like in Taiwan, it's interesting. It's like people are not really discussing scientific information here. They are just, I think they're supportive, but then they're also criticizing China for being against it. Yeah, so the discussion, become very politicized. And in Japan, I mean, they're supportive, but then I think Japan has had different parties. So like one party was criticizing another, based on this event. Yeah, so basically the whole water race became a talking point for different political discussions. Yeah, and I think in Europe in general, people searching in German, yeah, the discussion, there isn't too many discussion because this event, doesn't really reach that region. And so this is the last, this is the last example I will share. And this one is also very interesting. So it's about political polarization, but it actually permeates to business and commerce and our everyday lives. And it started with this image. Does anyone know who is on the image or the story? Okay, not really. Yeah, no worries. So this event, so the drink is Bud Light. It is a very popular drink brand in, I think especially in the US. And the person featured is Dylan Mulvaney. And so the background is Dylan Mulvaney is a transgender actress and a TikTok personality with 10 million followers. So the point is very famous. And Bud Light, want to feature Dylan because this drink brand, they want to launch this campaign to attract a younger audience with more diversity and, to increase their sales. However, what happened is when, this was featured in the US, there was a very huge anti-Dylan and anti-Bud Light campaign. And this one, I mean, there is a certain level of coordination, but I think mostly it's organic. But based on the data, like if you look at who influenced, who started, it's basically by conservatives, mostly American conservative commentators. And so those people, if you search, they are like very famous in US, like Ben Shapiro, Ben Ferguson, so very conservative, and they appear on TV and so on. And other Washington Examiner, David Collar, they are like very conservative newspaper. So they're talking about like Bud Light, the sales was plunging because, those conservatives, they don't like it. And when we analyze the sentiment, we can also say here, so this is a sentiment graph. Those like Bud Light, those are the kind of key concepts from the data set. And the other nodes are different users on Twitter. And green means, they are positive or supportive, and the red means they are negative. So we start to see kind of a polarization, like some people are supportive of Bud Light, but other people are conservative. They start to criticize Bud Light. Then Nike. So Nike also has some sponsorship like deal with Dylan and Anheuser-Busch is the parent company of Bud Light. I think Anheuser is like the world's largest like brew company. Yeah, so they are all targeted in this campaign. And it was also interesting, it becomes politicized, but then it also has direct effect on the company, on its bottom line, basically the revenue and the stock price. So there is a strong correlation, and it seems like the negative sentiment on social media can indicate, or it's probably a leading indicator of stock decline. So here, what we showed is, the x-axis is the time, and the y-axis is the percentage of stock value change. So if it goes down, maybe it means stock was increasing. So April 1st, Dylan, posted that video, and then later on, Kate Rock and Shapiro, super, conservative personality, and then Ted Nugent, also a conservative figure, and he shared this news on TV, and you can see how the stock was tanking. So yeah, so we found this interesting that political discussion and e-commerce, like commerce, it can actually be pretty intertwined. And this should be the very last slide. Just to summarize, so here I highlighted some projects we are doing. So those coordinate campaigns are very diverse. They can be political or commercial. And what we hope to achieve is building the software information tracer to integrate multiple research methods, because it's a method hub, but really there is no single method to find those campaigns. But in general, you start with keyword search, and then you have to look at sentiment, network influencer, other indicator of natural behavior, and potentially I go back to the history of those users. Yeah, you really have to build like a whole holistic profile of this event to make a decision. And the last point is, cross-functional collaboration can lead to success. Like the first example I shared. So we're still journalists, and we want to work and collaborate with many of you, because you have domain knowledge and we have technology, and also together with platforms or government, that's how we can reduce those campaigns. So with that, okay, acknowledgement. Yeah, special thanks to Yuki and Faye. So both of them, they are working with me as researchers, and they actually do some very in-depth research and investigation about some of the campaigns I shared. And also thanks to our collaborators for their input and feedback. And that's it. Yeah, thanks for listening. Yep. Right. Any questions?
And before you sit down, can you show us briefly how information tracer looks like?
Yeah.
What it looks like before?
Okay. Yeah, I didn't mention. Yeah, but basically our website is at informationtracer.com. I guess I can. Yeah, let me try to log into an account. Yeah, I created some test account this morning for the workshop. Okay, let's see one example. Okay, yeah, so basically this is the user interface. Here you can search, right, and you can specify start date and date. And here you have search history. We're searching in different languages. Yeah, so you can search any language anytime. And here is a graph I showed. So you can actually check each individual post. And we're also doing some event detection to find a breakout moment. Like here, it finds there is an event that China has announced a comprehensive ban on the import of Japanese seafood. And if you go down, so yeah, here we are building different indicators for coordinated behavior. I mean, one indicator, it's pretty simple, but it works well. It's basically what's the average number of posts, like average number of tweets per user in the data set. Because most of the time people will just share once. So if this number is higher than a threshold, then we will mark this indicator as yes. And we have some other indicator checking like the account age. And then for other types, we show you the details about each platform. So if you click Twitter, you can actually see all the tweets sorted by engagement. So for Twitter, it will be retweet. Okay, so here is Chinese. Okay, so what we are also doing is like in the blue box. So we use ChatGPT to help not to generate content, but to basically summarize content. And basically in this blue box, everything is generated by ChatGPT. But it's pretty helpful, especially when the original text is in different languages, because it's hard to read, and ChatGPT can just read any language and give you the summary in English. So here ChatGPT tells us the sentiment is mixed. Some has negative view toward the Chinese government, while others support the ban and encourage consumption of Japanese products. Yeah, so you can get an overview, and yeah, this thing like applies for other platforms. So for YouTube, we collect videos, and you can sort by comment, view, and so on. And we also have an network visualization. So here, okay, we have some filter where you can use a filter to show how this campaign started. Basically we show you who like different accounts and what hashtag they are sharing, right? So at the very beginning, it maybe like start with one YouTube channel, and then it quickly go to different platforms, and you can also filter by platform, or you can say cross-platform behavior, and you can also filter by interaction. So interaction means if this Instagram account posted something, it will have an interaction like number of repost, and you can use the filter to only show edges that have a very high interaction. So you only see kind of principal actors in the conversation. So you can filter all those small nodes. And okay, I think this sentiment graph is not available. Other intelligence include like co-occurrence, like when people share those keywords, what other keywords or what other URL they also search. Yeah, it just helps you to build your search query, because maybe there are the hashtags that you don't know before. And yeah, that's pretty much, and yeah, you can kind of go back and so we have been doing different search in different language, and the results are pretty different. Like when you search in English, let's see. Yeah, your starter guide, like BBC Asia. Yeah, so you can really say like different language, like who is kind of dominating on that language, and who are those users' sentiments. And for English, what's interesting is actually Chinese media, like Global Times, they also have Facebook account. Even though Facebook is banned in mainland, but they try to be active and counter the Western narratives. So yeah, so there's a lot you can search. Any topic like Russia, Ukraine. Yeah. So the idea is like students, that's, I've been working with Zhouhan for several years, and some of the students use the tool to do like a final research, and they can basically investigate any online kind of behavior that they are interested. Okay, yeah, that's a demo. No, I've been very careful, like, yeah, so how we calculate is actually very simple. Like we have those indicator, right? And if the indicator is yes, then we add 10 to the score. So by default, the score is 0. And then, yeah, I think the highest is 10 here. So with every indicator, we add 10. So it can be 10, 20, 30. Yeah, so it's just summation, because with machine learning, the challenge is it's very hard to explain, right? Especially to like journalists, like the model has a result. Yeah, but yeah, so we try to avoid using too like non-explainable indicators. So those indicators, at least we have the formula. So if you agree with the formula, yeah, you can use those indicators.
So let's first invite our speaker to sit down for more discussion. Questions? Okay, so the floor is now open, and I would moderate the discussion. So feel free, if you have a question, feel free to raise your hand to ask the speaker. Yes.
In your tool, is there any way to filter certain accounts? So if I look at the screen that you just showed, the many active user accounts are actually news media organizations like Radio Free Asia,
Yeah.
AM 330, iCable News. So is it possible for you to group those accounts and exclude those from the data set and regenerate how it's spreading?
Yes. So yeah. Yeah, I think technically it's possible. The thing, yeah, the only thing is like, yeah, if you have any need, then basically we can create, like a list of accounts that you would like to exclude. And yeah, I think technically it's not very difficult. Then like during your search, I can also make it interactive. Maybe during your search, you can, share like a list of accounts you want to exclude, right? And then, yeah, like dynamically, the program will exclude those accounts. Yeah, I think it's doable. You just have to tell me like what's the account names. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you for the presentation. I'm curious, how did you do the keyword search? How do you go about it? Do you have a specific technique? Is it all machine generated, or do you come in with other ideas?
Keyword, like how do we?
Yeah, maybe by the example of the Fukushima case, maybe.
Yeah, so Yeah, so this yeah, so the way people use the tool is it's very iterative because yeah, it's very hard to to find like everything in one search. So how people can start is maybe you can just start with search like Fukushima. I mean that would be too broad, maybe like water, and then you can start to identify yeah, basically what other keywords people use when they mention Fukushima water. Yeah, so that's how we gradually build this list of keyword. And yeah, and what this query means is in each parenthesis you are grouping a narrative. Like the first one is I want to search anything with Fukushima and water and dump, and it can be in any order. And then all means I also want to search anything with those three words and anything with those three. Yeah, so together you are basically like collecting this whole narrative. And yeah, so in general you start with just one or two keywords like the general topic, and you can start to okay, so that's why the co-occurrence could be helpful because it shows you what other hashtag people share. I mean, some are too general to be useful like Japan, but I think here it means something like yeah, wastewater release. Yeah, so you can start to find more specific hashtag. And the other example I mentioned, if that kind of coordination, or it's like if it's safe. Yeah, this one basically we just find it during our investigation, like reading those posts. I mean, maybe we can use some algorithm to find common, phrase in the post. Yeah, but basically we were reading, those tweets, and we found, oh, they all mention if it's safe put in Japan. So we figure out maybe we'll just search this and see, kind of cross the internet, who is talking about if it's safe put in Japan. Yeah, so there are like some iterations.
Can I just ask a follow-up question? So the number of keywords, you've done some research on how it influences the validity of your findings and reliability?
No, it will not, because like this query is the same if like you are searching this one, and then it's the same if you search like 7 times. If you search individually and you combine the results, yeah, it will be the same. I mean, yeah, one technical detail. I mean, there is a limit on how long the query can be. I think like Twitter search has a limit of 120 character, so can't give like super long. Otherwise, the API cannot handle. But yeah, you can build a decent one. And yeah, as I mentioned, if it's too long, you can break it up and search multiple times. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, let's yes, please.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I'm wondering about your data collection method. So especially like Twitter was easy to crawl data, but it wasn't now. It is now. And for example, for Instagram, if you search on a mobile phone or on the internet version, like what you get is like dependent on your browsing history or your personal preference, right? So I wonder how you collect data from Instagram and also like Facebook, because like Facebook, the search function is like similar to Instagram. And also like for data from Facebook, it's CrowdTangle. So I wonder, is that you're only collecting data about the public sphere, like nothing about private groups and private conversations or private profile? That's my question. Thank you.
So Facebook and Instagram, I rely on CloudTangle, and I'm not sure if there are other ways. I heard they are developing some maybe research API alternative, but I haven't heard much update. And CloudTangle, yes, the limitation is it only focus on, I think, public groups or accounts with a certain number of what do we call followers? So it doesn't index all the users, and it cannot track private users or people you have not friend with. So that's the limitation. But that's just the best alternative I can find so far.
Yes.
Thank you for your introduction about this tool. I have a question about how do you identify the similar narratives between different posts or across platform? Like, did you use hashtag or you share the similar keywords between the post, or did you use some computational methods to like topic modeling to identify the narratives, or you calculate a text similarity scores between those posts?
I see. So, I think right now, detecting narrative, that's a good point. We are, I think potentially we can do some like text processing on those texts and identify common narrative. But basically how we identify, as I mentioned, like my students, they were doing research, and so it's more like a manual process. So they were doing research and reading the top like 20 tweets, and it's during the process of like making this table that we start to see the emergence of some common narratives. Because the first time we see if it's safe put in Japan, we don't know if if it's a narrative or it's just one incurrence. I think it's possible to use algorithm, but it's also challenging. I mean, it's easy to do like keyword count, right? Or maybe they call it like bigram, like you can try to count like 2 consecutive words, but it gets computationally expensive if you try to match like longer text. But I think we're also like exploring with like ChatGPT and so on. I think those models, large language models, they have the potential for giving us some hints. So maybe we can just feed the data and ask ChatGPT like, do you find any common narrative? I think it's actually pretty good at identifying patterns. But this one it's like we have to do some manual review.
Thank you very much. I have another question about the network analysis plot. Like, how is the different social media platform linked? Because I see that the nodes they have Facebook and also like YouTube, Twitter, but those nodes are linked in the network analysis plot. Like, how is this different platforms linked between each other? Did you use like the embedded URL from Twitter pointed to YouTube, or did you also use the shared keyword as the link?
Good question. So now here we use, I think it's either URL or the hashtag. If I can make the font a little bit bigger. So what's an example like Fukushima? So, and we link platform to the hashtag. So we don't link platform to platform, but you can say that Fukushima is shared on, Facebook and YouTube video, and I think you can do some filtering like by some Instagram accounts. And what about Facebook? Yeah, those are the Facebook accounts. So you can see, single platform, or you can see cross-platform. But they are connected by if they shared the same either hashtag or URL. I think keyword, again, keyword, there are too many keywords, so the hashtag is a little bit more selective. Yeah, but we also did some filtering, like, we like first find like the top hashtags used in the whole conversation, and then we start to build a graph, because otherwise there will be just so many hashtags. So we have some kind of filtering and ranking, before generating the graph.
Directional graph?
It is. So direction is user to hashtag. User to hashtag. And this graph, it's actually pretty interactive. So you can click each node. So each node is clickable, and when you click, it will take you to the exact post that mention this hashtag. So you can kind of go back and forth between the actual data and so let's see, and the social media post.
今日叫醒我嘅唔係鬧鐘。
And I think so far YouTube, they should have the hashtag either in the title or in the description, but not in the comment. I think the search only focus on the description of the title. But you can click each node and see what people are posting.
So it's a graph, actually, it's a two-mode graph, right? And it just show the occurrence of this information, but it doesn't show the information flow.
I think technically it does, because so we have those filter, right? So what the filter does is the first filter, so each post has a timestamp, right? So you can actually see basically when I move the filter, that's how the conversation happens. So that's the dynamic, and you can actually choose different starting point. Like I only want to say conversation, from September to the end. So you can actually choose a different time and see what's the network during that time. But basically I think when you slide, you are creating the dynamic.
I have another question. Have you tried to connect the kind of social media like Sina, Weibo, or this kind of things? And if so, how do you solve the problem of the government supervision? Because you can find some role, but it's really difficult to find those posts supervised by the government. Do you have any method to find these posts which deleted by the government because of the supervision or these kind of things? Have you tried it?
Yes. So we, so we're not covering Chinese platforms. I think it's, technically there are some challenges. I don't think they provide easy API or what I heard is you kind of have to know those companies, right? Like build some maybe a business relationship so that they can kind of facilitate those data sharing. But because most of the time I was physically in the US, and recently I relocated to Singapore, but I'm not in mainland China, so I think I actually made it difficult to be able to build those data collection pipeline. But I think in mainland China, there are some companies that can provide data collection. But currently I'm not collecting, but I mean, if there was an opportunity, I would like to add more platforms. Yeah.
I have a question, and maybe it is for the information tracer, the tool. I used to work for the social media company in China, in the mainland China, and I was responsible for the misinformation governance. I was the operations manager, and we encountered so many problems. So it's really grateful for this presentation. And I know much about the fact checking. And also I want to know something that, the first question is, what do you think the main characteristics of the misleading information in the short video form? And the next question is, as you shown in the PowerPoint, the story is called the information tracer. It demonstrates a comprehensive view of different queries. It provides the consequences of different like locations and the dates and other information. But is it a tool to assist the fact checker? Because in my forward company, we have a team of fact checkers. They check the information, they check the authenticity artificially. So I really want to know if it is a tool in the process to assist the fact checker, or it can also provide the conclusions of whether the query is true or false. Because it can really it can provide can lower the income of, or we can.
You mean like save time?
Yes, I want to know what it can function in the process. What stage?
Okay, yeah. So I think I mentioned in the beginning, like, right now this tool is not a verification tool. But we're actually talking about like companies that's doing verification and like potentially combining. I think one example is some people I know, I think like AP verification, so associated price in the, okay, I'm not sure how to find it. Yeah, but like in the US, the associated price, I think they provide like a verification tool, and that tool can do like so I think like our tool can be at the upper stage of this whole pipeline, right? So we collect data like image and video, but right now we're not analyzing, we're not fact checking those images. Like we're not detecting, I mean, we can like in the future, but we're not like detecting if this image is AI generated or not. But what I'm saying, there are many companies who are doing this, and so potentially like we can actually, work with them, like create this whole pipeline. So yeah, so right now we're not doing verification, but basically we have the data, and I mean, I know that many APIs that can check, if a text is AI generated, like a GPT-0. I mean, there are a bunch of those websites. So potentially, like one feature is we can send those social media posts to those, AI like verification tool, and they give us a score, like how likely is AI generated. Yeah, I think that's one direction, but currently we are not doing that.
Yes, because it is improving so fast.
Yes,
and we can define whether it is misinformation or disinformation of the AI generated content.
Yeah, that's why I mean the idea is I don't think there is a tool that can tell you automatically if something is fake or not. That's why the idea or the motivation of what I'm doing is to give people the context. because yeah, I think right now at this stage it's very difficult. Like I give you a text, like you cannot tell, like no one can tell if it's AI generated. But if you look at who is sharing, how it's shared, then I mean, regardless if it's fake or not, there is some interesting behavior. So I think that's the pattern we're trying to catch. Like not really if it's fake or not. I think it's very difficult, but maybe an easier task is just to visualize how people share it, and regardless if it's because coordinated behavior, like in the social media platforms, yeah, it's also, I mean, if it coordinates inauthentic behavior, it's also against their policy. Yeah, so even if they're not spreading like misinformation, but they are, using like troll farms or bots, then like that itself is also interesting. Yeah, so I think we're focusing more, at least right now, like behavior, right, network behavior, not fact checking the content.
And now in the last year we launched a function of the short videos Douyin, and it has a context button. And I think the website, the information provide, if you right now we provide the information by the fact checkers.
Yeah,
they use the information and put in the format through the context button. And I know that Facebook has also used the context button. Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So you mean context, like fact checker can provide context for social media platforms?
Actually, they searching for the right information, correct information. Put the information into the misleading posts. And we set a context button in this post.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, maybe after this we can talk more. And yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
Like when you are identifying the coordinated campaign, when you are calculating the coordinated score, I'm just wondering what is the metric for choosing the five indicators on this on the frame? It says only because it's only says a poster on Facebook and also accounts created after a certain time on Twitter. What about other indicators, other platforms like YouTube, and also accounts created after a certain time in Facebook, and also probably the similarity of the contents of each, like the posts that shows that if they are too similar, probably they are manipulated, and also probably the clustering scores of some accounts when they are linked in the social network. I'm just wondering what is the metric of choosing those 5 indicators here?
Yeah, so the short answer is, yeah, right now those indicators, they can be basically easily calculated or calculate in real time, like because they are kind of easy aggregation. And like other indicators is not shown here because it takes more time to like generate that metric. I think for Facebook, I think the data doesn't, I can double check, yeah, but I'm not sure if it tell you the account creation time. So maybe you have to do something manual. And yeah, or sometimes like class, yeah, basically there are other indicators that I would like to include, but if they require like more offline work, then it's hard to like automatically show you here. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Chen, for your informative presentation. So I have 2 questions. So first, I noticed about there is a function called like sentiment with like combination with ChatGPT. So is firstly like information tracer gonna collect all the informations or the data, then use ChatGPT to detect the sentiment? Yeah, and my second question is for on the result page, there's a thing called like who are the main spreaders. So are they the like kind of like summaries from the like the bottom of the page? Like I noticed there's like the rain news from Facebook, then like that's from Twitter and other things. So are they just the summary from the like the result? Thank you.
So this one is just a summary from the result. It's just the top, the top spreader, like the same as if you click here and the person on the first row. So this is just a summary. And sentiment, I want to show you an example that have a sentiment graph. And actually for sentiment, it's here. Okay, cool. So okay, this is actually a new feature, I would say, because previously, for sentiment, people just show like two sentiments, right? Like binary, positive or negative. And we find sometimes not super helpful because if you search for, I think one example is earthquake, like earthquake in Morocco, and you do sentiment analysis, like everything will be negative because it's like very sad disaster, but actually it can be more nuanced. So basically what we are doing now is building a more like an emotion graph. Maybe we should call it emotion graph, where we generate 6 different emotions, like happiness, sadness, anger, fear, surprise, disgust. So it's very nuanced. And in this graph, how we read this graph is there are again, so those there are some topic like, so here the example is, what's the keyword is Russia, Ukraine. So basically we collected some mention of Russia and Ukraine, and we identify the top topics like Ukraine, Israel, and we show you the emotions, so you can see like some people are like happy about Ukraine, some people are sad, and lots of anger. Okay, Russia is here, lots of anger toward Russia, Israel, and some fear. So you have like a more nuanced understanding, and you can actually, let's say, you can also click each post. Let's say this one, and you can understand like why people are angry about this topic. I mean, here it requires more understanding of the context, but in general, we found ChatGPT to be pretty good at inferring emotions. So this is generated by ChatGPT. So we send the data to it, and we ask GPT to pick emotion, and then we build the graph.
So in the case of the retweets, so we only will look at the information, the new information that the people write for the retweet, but rather than the original information that being retweeted, right?
I think we're creating original tweets. So we're not.
So you're only looking at the original tweets.
I'm only looking at original tweets.
That being retweeted.
Yeah. So there's no like duplicated retweets.
Yes.
I'm just curious about the use case of this emotion analysis.
Yeah.
So for example, if you look at the account name POTUS, that's the president of the United States.
Yeah.
And if you tick the sadness on, there's a huge line that goes to Ukraine hashtag. No, if you click the sadness indicator on top.
Okay.
It suddenly appears there. And I would imagine that because President of the United States account will issue lots of like condolences or
Yeah.
other sentiment towards Ukraine.
Yeah.
But for me, I don't know how to use that information. What's the use case of this analysis? What's the useful way to take this data and try to make meaning out of this?
Right. So if I can, I think in the, let me try to find you the Morocco earthquake one, because as I mentioned, sometimes you can get a more nuanced understanding of what people are feeling. I think. Let me see if I can find the earthquake. Okay. So. Okay, great. Yeah, so I think the advantage over like binary sentiment is, so this one I was searching about the earthquake in Morocco, right? And this is very general search, but I just want to get an understanding of what people are talking about, how they feel about the earthquake. And if it's just binary sentiment, then this whole graph will be right, like negative, because it's just negative sentiment. But if you look, closer, let's say happiness. Okay, I think a little bit happiness, but lots of people are sad in the events, and so the topics would be earthquake, Morocco, victim, and King. I think King Mohammed of Morocco, and let's say anger, not many anger and fear. So there is a decent amount of fear about the earthquake, which can be pretty clear visualized here. And surprise, not much. Disgust, not much. Yeah, so basically we know, okay, actually this emotion can be broke down to sadness, where people are, sad about people who pass away, and also fear, which is, fear of this earthquake. Yeah, so I think that's how, I guess it helps with understanding, but yeah, that's how I can explain it. And yeah, you can read those posts and yeah, I guess get an idea of yeah, maybe among this in the whole discussion, some discussions about fear, some discussions about sadness, and if you want to search like a specific group, you can, try to look for like, yeah, each one is clickable. Yeah, so you can say like, okay, what they are talking about and so on.
Okay, more questions? I mean, I just take the opportunity to ask one question about the various types of campaign. So I mean, when you talk about coordinated campaign behavior, there are 3 types of campaigns I think about. One is spontaneous campaign, like when there's some big event happen, people just by nature they talk about things, and we know social media is bursty, and then you expect this rise. I mean, when celebrity divorce or when there's an earthquake, then there's this organic, and then you use spontaneous, right? And then you use the word organic. And the second type of campaign is this plotted campaign or planned campaign, meaning that there's some influencer, they plan this and then they try to move the public opinion and try to make it appear, right? So there's some planning there, some coordination there. And then the third type of campaign is this campaign, but this is still real person, right? But the third type of campaign involves bots, right? Those not real human, and now with AI, there's AI, right? So there's these 3 types. And then so my question is 2 parts. One is conceptually, do you think it's meaningful to distinguish these 3 types of campaign? And also especially I think that now the challenge we face is that every social media burst we see, it should be a mixture of the 3, right? So there's some spontaneous people talking about them, but there's some coordination by real human, and then there's some bots there. And then so conceptually, do you think it's meaningful to separate the 3? And also technically, does your tool allow us to separate for example, we can see, okay, we're seeing this burst in social media. Do we know like 20% of them is by bots and 10% is by real people actually being excited, and then 50% is by this celebrity moving the dialogue? Yeah, so that's my question.
Yeah, thank you. I think, yeah, we do try to identify, I think what Facebook called coordinated inauthentic behavior. Yeah, I think Facebook has like, yeah, this definition, and yeah, that's something we want to distinguish from normal campaigns. And yeah, as I mentioned in terms of method, you have to kind of look at holistically, like the pattern, like the graph, the slope, you know, the network, like the density, and user. Yeah, but we try to distinguish. And I think one comment I want to make is, yeah, like a lot of people talk about like fake news, misinformation, but that's kind of like another concept with coordinated campaign, because there can be coordinated authentic campaigns that spread misinformation. And we have an example like in Africa, actually like in many African countries, like people voluntarily share. So it's authentic, but they share, you know, misinformation. But on the other hand, there can be coordinated inauthentic campaigns that share true information. That's also a problem because we have this actually case study. Let me see very quickly. So basically, it's a campaign, but they are basically amplifying message that in the end they make the opinion seem to be stronger than it is, but what they are sharing is not really like misinformation per se. So I mean, we have this blog page, but long story short, like in the London earlier this year, they have a new policy called ultra low emission zone, which is ULEZ. So basically, they put the whole Greater London into this low emission zone. So if you have a car that has high emissions, then you have to pay a fee, right? And on the internet, there is a whole campaign called No to ULEZ. So I mean, some people don't like the policy, and they have a reason because they have old cars and they are like low income, right? So they don't have money to pay for this new you know, emission charge. But you know, what we found is you know, there has been campaign kind of coordinated about to amplify this no to ULEZ. So the point is, yeah, like it can be coordinated, and they can spread, you know, any opinion, true or not. But coordinated, you know, inauthentic campaign is a problem because it makes it, you know, seem to be more important than it is. Yeah, so that's my answer.
Okay, thank you. Are there more questions? All right, it's 4:30, so that's the end of Dr. Chen's formal sharing. So thank you everyone for being here with us. Thank you.
Yeah, if you're interested, let me know. I'll send an email, and yeah, we can talk about how to work together. Yeah. Thanks for coming.